And, excuse me, welcome back to the Quirk Creation series. It's been a while, and I've been a little sick. Mostly fine, but just had that weird moment of phlegm in your throat where you're just like, hi. But, no, we're back to the Quirk Creation series. And starting off the Quirk Creation series this month, with MMR Pro, I think it was. I might be butchering the name, Dragon Slayer, asking, what is Kakashi Hatake's team? Or team? Quirk. I already did his team for Pokemon. This is a fun concept because Kakashi is one of those very rare characters where you can justify him actually having two separate quirks. All this stems from, if we're thinking of his history similar to his history in Naruto, only in the My Hero world, we can think of it like he still was a hero. He had his team, his friends, his compatriots, and what happened in the mission where he lost his eye. Obito was nearly killed. Obviously, in this world, he wouldn't actually be killed, but he was nearly killed. Gave Kakashi his other eye, so Kakashi does have a Sharingan eye in there, which, as we established with both the Madara, and I think either Itachi or Sasuke already at this point, would theoretically be a family quirk that just evolves differently depending on when it actually awakens. Now, first and foremost, let's establish again what a Sharingan in the My Hero world would do. It would be able to theoretically copy any quirk it sees, even better than Monoma, who has to touch it. But it would only copy like a base quirk, and these quirks theoretically are stored away at any point in time, but are never like active. For example, heteromorph quirks, quirks that change your physicality, would not really be copyable unless they have an after effect, for example, or secondary effect. For example, thinking of one real quick, Shoji's, I believe it's Shoji's, the guy who can make the multiple appendages. Kakashi could theoretically copy that ability. He just would not be copying the physical traits of that quirk. Likewise, these quirks theoretically could be at their beck and call, but they would be at their most base form. You can't awaken these quirks. They're not as good as the original quirk. But that being said, if Kakashi were to hypothetically awaken his Sharingan to a Mangekyo Sharingan quirk, he would still have Obito's Kamui ability. The only downside is it would ultimately cause him to go blind. You can even make the argument that in this family, in this clan, you can still get the Eternal Mangekyo. But the point is that because this eye was transplanted, it's one of those, I think, rare instances where the quirk can still work, but it hinders Kakashi greatly because he can't deactivate it. Generally speaking, people cannot handle multiple quirks. That's how you get a Nomu, basically. They're just kind of almost brain dead, just going off of base instinct. But there are rare circumstances, such as Tomura Shigaraki, where you can have multiple quirks. Or obviously, for one, who his quirk is designed to take and hold multiple quirks. Or Deku's quirk factor singularities being all in one for all. Theoretically, it is possible. The average person would not be able to do it, but we can make an exception here that Kakashi may have been an exception to the rule. Because it was only one eye and because it doesn't deactivate, his body was ultimately able to use it, but it still would carry all of the issues that it carries in the actual series of Naruto, where it drains his stamina. Obviously, chakra's not a big thing in the My Hero world. This Eastern philosophy of chakra obviously exists, but actual chakra, as we see in Naruto, doesn't. But it would still be like draining on his stamina, his energy reserves, all that. So he would not. So he'd always still have to cover his eye, but it would still give him the ability to perceive motion, do all the basic genjutsu stuff or basic stuff that a Sharingan can do. But the thing here is that wouldn't even be his actual quirk, because he would have had to have had a quirk prior to gaining the Sharingan to even be qualified for a hero license. Now, the question would be then, what would I turn into his quirk? What would I create a quirk for him as? That sentence structure made no sense. What would be the quirk I would create for him? I think going off the idea of lineage, we can say that he inherited his quirk from his dad, Sakumo Hatake, or the White Fang Konoha. He'd still probably have the nickname or even the hero name of the White Fang. But the question is, where did he get that name from? I think it would be the Quirk that gave him his name. And I think their quirk would allow them to basically channel electricity into objects. At best, it's a low thrum, like maybe like an electric shock from a joy buzzer, not very strong. But when you move with momentum, you are suddenly creating far more voltage and far more electricity just by moving your hand and your body, and then connected to whatever it's connected to. In Sakamo's case, it was his Tanto, which allowed him to create the white chakra saber and even like fire off bolts of electricity when he's moving extremely fast. This quirk would be a consciously activated quirk. So Kakashi and his dad and Sally just moving around doesn't do anything. In fact, these guys could move at very high velocity and never once ignite a spark. They consciously have to do that. Kakashi, I think, would inherit this ability and even have special gear on his hands and maybe his body that allows him to channel electricity onto his body as he's moving and, in theory, create his equivalent in this world of the Chidori/Lightning Blade. Obviously, the speed issue would still create the tunnel vision issue, which would be mitigated by his Sharingan, and there you go. Now, beyond that, what would the limitations of a quirk like this be? Well, insulators are still a problem. For example, if he's holding something made of rubber, this quirk's not going to do jack shit. If he's holding, like, say, wood, like a stick or like a baseball bat, he's not going to be, he could channel it through, but just going to destroy and just set it on fire is what's going to happen, because those are naturally insulating items from electricity. What he wants to be holding is something metal, or something at least conductive, something wet. If he's moving his hand quickly, he could just suddenly jolt electricity onto a wet surface and shock someone. He, in theory, could just translate this to a fighting style as well, where he's literally lighting up his gloves, maybe the bracers on his legs, whatever, and just striking with electrical shots. Now, an awakened version of this quirk, however, would just completely forego the necessity of transitioning the lightning to something else. I would honestly see the evolved version of this quirk being just you're now channeling it through your body itself. Your body will now just channel electricity. When you swipe your arm, you now just have a blade of electricity on your hand, hence the lightning blade. You move fast enough, you will kind of turn into a bolt of electricity. Now, as strong as this would be, if your body's not naturally insulated, which you could make an argument that the Hatake's might not be, similar to Adabi's body was not designed to handle his fire quirk, then you're still going to be risking damage to your body. Now, maybe with evolving the quirk, your body evolves more resistance to electricity, but still, I think that might be an issue. Plus, the whole idea of turning into a bolt of lightning, it doesn't matter how much Sharingan you got on you, tunnel vision, you're not going to save yourself from that level of tunnel vision. Beyond that, you're not going to be able to turn on a dime, at least not without practice. You could theoretically, if you're not actually turning into a bolt of lightning, by the way, you're pretty much doing a Raikage and covering yourself in lightning for super speed and attack and whatnot. But theoretically, you could maybe stop on a dime, jettison yourself off a wall, and then go straight another line for a quick turn. But that would take a lot of practice, and nothing is set in stone with that. So, yeah, honestly, this would probably be the quirk of Kakashi, in my opinion. The two quirks he'd have. What would his hero name be, though? That's a good question. I mean, the Copy Ninja might be like a nickname, like a hero name he gets later on after he gets the Sharingan. What would his initial name have been? Well, because he didn't like being associated with his dad, I think he would not take the White Fang or White Fang 2 or anything like that. He would probably take more of the Lightning Hound or Shock Hound. Oh, Shock Hound's not a bad one. Spark Hound, something to do with the dogs, because Kakashi has the dog summoning contract. So something along those lines I think would work. This is just my opinion, though. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you folks for the next one. Have a good one.